Please be advised, this podcast runs on coffee. Lots of coffee.
It's time to rethink men's health. Because it doesn't just affect men, it affects us all. When men are well, the benefits ripple through families and communities. But when men are unwell and unsupported, we all feel it. We're all the real face of men's health. Be part of the solution with Movember.
Hey, welcome back to Dad Space, podcast for Dads by Dads, episode 216. We are deep into Movember, and we're here with you, and I'm glad you're here. Thank you for pressing play. I think you are spectacular, and I'm glad you're here because you make Dad Space better. So I want to talk about another podcast. And you're like, wait, why would we do this? We love Dad Space. Yeah, but when there's another show doing really great stuff, I want to tell you about it. It's called the All Pro Dad Podcast, and I've been listening to it, enjoying it, and I wanted to share it with you as an addition to, but definitely not an alternative to, Dad Space, because we love you and we want you to come back. But if you have room in your queue and you can listen to another podcast for dads, I have one for you, and I'd love for you to check it out. It's the All Pro Dad Podcast. Here's a little taste, what it sounds like when you press play, and then I'll come back and share my thoughts about the show and what it's all about and what I think you can get out of this. Here's a little taste of the All Pro Dad Podcast.
Hey, welcome to the All Pro Dad Podcast. I'm Ted Lowe, and I'm joined today by Bobby Lewis and BJ Foster. How you doing, guys?
Good.
Hey, another important episode. One we need to think about. Didn't know we needed to think about. A lot of us didn't. And it kind of came from this whole idea from one of the listeners who said when we had the episode, I think it's episode 72 on the series Adolescence. You and I had a conversation about that, and we talked about the manosphere and toxic masculinity in that series. And one of you guys wrote in and said, "Hey, I'd like to hear more about that." And then we looked at the stats and went, "Whoa, we really need to talk about this."
Yeah. Well, according to Statista, like there was a 16-year-old fake TikTok account created in 2024. And within 5 minutes, it was fed hyper-masculine content. Within 10 minutes, it was fed misogynistic and anti-feminist content. And within 2 hours, it was fed toxic, extreme right-wing reactionary content. So this is clearly one of those things where you sort of think, okay, you can easily kind of go, okay, TikTok has a conspiracy and wants to, promote misogynistic content. But TikTok, we've talked about in previous episodes, social media, they create their algorithms based on what people want. Mm-hmm. And so there must be a huge market for young men, particularly teenagers, who are craving this kind of content. And the question is why?
So they're craving the manosphere toxic masculinity.
Right. Yeah.
Wow.
That's why. So if you have a profile that's a 16-year-old boy, TikTok is going to throw them.
Because they know that's what they're looking for.
That's what a lot of 16-year-old boys, teenager boys are.
So what am I loving about All Pro Dad Podcast? Well, first, I love how they do their show. I love how they are on the mic together, and a lot of wisdom here. You can tell these guys when they get together, they're not just, chatting it up in the basement. These guys are putting a lot of work into the show, and it shows. It really does. Now, there is a faith-based aspect to this show, and don't let that scare you off if that's not your journey as a dad. They're not preachy. It's not like that kind of podcast at all. And I wouldn't put this in front of you if it was overly like that, because I know some of you guys, you're like, nah, that's not for me. That's not what they do here. There's a lot of great stuff that they talk about on the show. And there's a lot of great information, I think, that you could really apply to your journey as a dad. Go through and look at the episodes that they have, because the titles are they're very accurate. They really, exactly what they're going to talk about, and skip through them. There's some pretty interesting conversations. These guys are not perfect. They readily admit to the things that they're struggling with and they're not good at and that they wish they could do better. So it's not preachy at all. And again, I wouldn't promote it if it was. So again, the All Pro Dad podcast, go check it out. I'll have a link for it in the show notes, and go give it a listen, go give it a try, and definitely don't leave Dad Space. No, stay here with me. But I would really like for you to think about this show. So what the show is all about, each episode of the All Pro Dad podcast focuses on one central partnering question. Just one, not 35, one. And they tackle real life topics with humor, wisdom, and compassion. Again, hosted by Ted Lowe, Bobby Lewis, and BJ Foster. They have other people on as well, guests or rotating co-hosts. This is really good. And the show explores the joys and struggles of being an engaged father in today's world. The tone of the show is honest and approachable, and it's designed for dads who don't have all the answers, but genuinely want to get better. And I love that as the overall tone of the podcast. And the podcast aims to create a space where dads can laugh, learn, and feel less alone, like we do here, in their parenting journey. I love that it's a co-hosted panel discussion. I do most of the episodes here on Dad Space. It's just me. I love the idea of this. I'd love to develop Dad Space into something more like this, where dads get together and have conversations. I think that would be great. And if you're ever interested in doing that, let me know at dadspace.ca. I'd love to work with you on that. This podcast is really focused on blending personal stories, expert insights, and as they call them, pro moves, actionable takeaway that dads can apply right away at home. And some common themes and topics covered by the All Pro Dad podcast, well, they would include these. The episodes on the All Pro Dad podcast cover a variety of different topics, like parenting and communication, building trust and emotional connection with your kids, marriage and teamwork, strengthening your partnership and balance at home, discipline and encouragement, finding the right blend of correction and care, modern challenges, navigating social media, technology, and we're getting, like we hear in this episode, the manosphere, character and resilience, raising emotionally strong and respectful kids, mental health for dads, encouraging emotional openness, reflection, and community support. All the things that come into play here in November, they talk about on the show. And it's a great tone to the show. Very welcoming. They really make you feel like you're part of the conversation as a listener. So some sample episode topics, episodes that I've been listening to that I would recommend. Again, you can search for all these in your podcast app and on YouTube. How can I improve as a dad? Knowing when to ask for feedback from your kids, spouse, or mentors. That's a great one. Should dads be worried about the manosphere, which is what the episode we're highlighting here, discussing how media messages shape your young men's views for your kids. Building resilience in your children, featuring insights from Dr. Williams is on the show, and she's helping kids handle adversity. And what's the best part about being a girl dad? Celebrating father-daughter bonds. They get really emotional here, a bunch of guys. Typically, the episodes lean more towards raising boys, which is interesting, but this episode's really good. If you're a girl dad, you'll love it. This makes you want to go hug your daughter. And 5 ways dads can cause family tension, and 4 things you must do after yelling at your kids. So yeah, a lot of great topics I think you're really going to enjoy. Again, if you've never heard this show, it's worth a listen. It's worth you checking out. And why listeners love this show? Well, here's a few reasons. The format is approachable for the All Pro Dads podcast. Simple 15, 20-minute conversations. It's not 45 minutes, 4 hours. It's nothing like that. It's really approachable. It's rooted in faith and practicality. There is a blend of Christian values, but it also focuses on modern advice. And again, it's not preachy. It's not like that kind of show. So listen to it and see if it works for you. I hope it does, but that's part of it. And it's got a diverse guest input featuring experts, coaches, and dads from various backgrounds. And I love the actionable takeaways for each episode. Each episode ends with what they call a pro move. It's a simple, tangible way to improve family and life that week. where to listen. You can find the All Pro Dad podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, allprodad.com/podcast. And in short, the All Pro Dad podcast is built for men who want to be intentional about fatherhood. Not perfect dads, but all pro dads who keep showing up, learning and growing every day. So when I find great resources like books, podcasts, websites, whatever, I want to share them with you because I want you to have the resources to do the things that you want to do with your family. So again, I would encourage you to go check out the All Pro Dad podcast. So the episode we're focusing on and highlighting today is around the manosphere. That was the episode that we are focused on. Again, that episode was called Should Dads Be Worried About the Manosphere? Discussing how media messages shape young men's views. And I really enjoyed this episode because they really broke down some terminology that I'm not super familiar with. And they did it in a way that I walked away going, oh, okay, I get this now. Now I can have a conversation about this. And now I know where to kind of look for resources and help. So it was a really good, helpful episode. Here's a little bit of them explaining from the episode more about the different things that our kids are going to come across on social media, on the internet, around this topic. And they define each of these for us in a pretty great way. And when you listen to the entire episode, which I'd encourage you to do that, you get a really well-rounded view of this. And they really bring in the woman's side of the conversation, which is the part lacking in a lot of men's podcasts. They really feature and focus on combating with what people are talking about with truth, with things that really are truthful and help you develop a better sense of how we can respond to these things. So here's a little more clip from the show, and I'll come back and wrap up. But here's a little taste of this episode in particular. Links in the show notes.
Are gravitating towards.
Wow. Yeah. And if you're like me, you might hear some of these terms and be like, okay, that's kind of a general, vague thing. Manosphere, toxic masculinity, all these different things. You're like, all right, I've heard them, but I don't really know how to define them. Let's define some of the terms we're going to talk about in this particular episode, because that will make it a lot easier to go through the conversation. So the first one we want to describe for you is manosphere. Big term, probably heard it. It just means blogs, websites, chat rooms, online communities, things centered on men's issues, usually promoting kind of a male supremacy sort of thought pattern, a misogyny, anti-feminism. So that's manosphere. That's one of the terms we're going to talk about. Another one's toxic masculinity. So that's promoting quote unquote manly traits, things like dominance, emotional suppression, aggression, ultra competitiveness, stuff like that. These are terms that really drive in the vulnerability and empathy themes of life as inherently feminine. All that stuff, girly stuff. We don't talk about that in toxic masculinity. Third one we're going to talk about is red pill. You're the movie guy, BJ. The Matrix. You like the movie?
Love the movie.
Okay, well then
didn't like the second and third one, but I like the first one.
Ignore those were ever made. The first one, if you've seen the movie, you understand what red pill is. It's from the movie. It basically is like, hey, you take the red pill, you're going to wake up. You're going to know what all the uncomfortable real truths are in the world. So when we say red pill, you're going to hear that a little bit and say, all right, well, I get it. It's from the movie. We're awake. We know the truth now. Number 4, one of the terms we're going to talk about is incel. It's kind of a shortened way to say involuntarily celibate. So these are guys who believe that the romantic sexual relationships are not really available to them. They don't fit the mold. Men they're only desirable if they look a certain way, talk a certain way, act a certain way. So basically, I don't have an option to be romantically involved with anyone. I'm an incel. That's what that one means. And then the 5th one is black pill. This one is a fatalistic worldview. Attractiveness is predetermined. You either got good looks, you got money, or you don't. Women are all shallow. Most men don't have a chance. You know, the majority of women are only going after that itty bitty sliver of men. And that's what black pill means. So when we go over some of those terms today, just know that's what we're talking about.
So again, I love finding great resources for you and sharing them with you and encouraging you to go and check them out. And again, give them a try. I'm hoping that the All Pro Dad podcast is something you enjoy in addition to Dad Space. But I would love for you to go check it out and at least give it a try, right? Even if this is not something you would normally look up for on your search, give it a listen, give it a few episodes and make a decision if this is the right show for you. You're always welcome on Dad Space. That's something that's always there for you. But I wanted to put it out there in hopes that there's somebody who needs this, who resonates with this, and gets value from this. And if I can give you any valuable resource that helps you as a dad, then that's the point of Dad Space. And you're like probably thinking, Dave, why would you promote another dad podcast? Isn't that your competition? Well, if we help a dad, I don't see any competition problems there at all, because this show might help you to a point, but another show might take you further. And why not? There's a lot of room in the world. And if we can continue to support dads and give you more and more things that help you to be a better dad, then we should do that. So go check out the All Pro Dad podcast. Again, links in the show notes. And here's how they wrap up their episodes. And I love how they do this. And here's the example of their pro move challenge for you as a dad. So when you listen to the entire episode from this episode featured here on this podcast, then follow through and put in that pro move action step into your life with your family and with your kids, so that you can take advantage of what you learn in this episode. But here's how they wrap up.
What we try to do constantly is bring things like this to light, talk it through. And so there's another resource that you can check out. It's called the Play of the Day. Go in the show notes. You can sign up, and where we talk every day. You get a 2-minute read, but it's so important every day to keep you in the game with your kids, being ahead of the game with your kids. It's powerful. And so thank you for all that. Thank you for signing up for the Play of the Day. Thank you for showing up here, hopefully every week, to talk about, hey, what do my kids need? We're thankful for that. Thank you for listening. We know that you and your kids will be glad that you did.
Thanks again for listening to the All Pro Dad podcast. Behind every episode is our amazing...
So to the guys at the All Pro Dad podcast, I love your show. I'm enjoying it as a listener. Very encouraging. I appreciate how you do what you do on the show, and just want to say thanks for all the great stuff that you put into the world. For you listening to Dad Space, thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the show. We're doing the Movember event, daily episodes in the month of November, and I'm hoping that you're finding some encouragement. And even though you're getting 30 episodes in 30 days, I don't anticipate everyone's going to be able to keep up, but store some of these episodes for the future. And when you have a chance to maybe take in 2 episodes instead of 1, or during the Christmas break, maybe sometime, whatever you got, there's a lot of great content for you. Listen to it when it serves you. And thanks for being part of Dad Space. Happy Movember. And thanks for being part of this community of dads, because we want to make sure there's a space for every dad here on Dad Space. Thanks again.
But even a man of the fewest words knows that when times are tough, a few words just aren't enough. So if you're feeling like things just aren't quite right, be a man of more words. Tell someone, because talking saves lives.